This episode of Kind of Funny Gamescast is brought to you by Blue Apron. Blue Apron's the #1 fresh ingredient and recipe delivery service in the country. The mission's to make incredible home cooking accessible to everyone. Not all ingredients are created equal. Fresh, high-quality ingredients make a real difference. So it's important to know where your food comes from. For less than $10 per person per meal, Blue Apron delivers seasonal recipes along with pre-portioned ingredients to make delicious home-cooked meals. Greg Miller, you might know him from his, world-renowned Instagram series, Cooking with Greggy, is all about this Blue Apron goodness. Check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/Gamecast. No S, just Gamecast. You'll love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron. So don't wait. That's blueapron.com/Gamecast. Blue Apron, a better way to cook. Cooking with Greggy, man. He's good. He makes good stuff. What's up, guys? Welcome to the first ever episode 109 of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. As always, I'm Tim Gettys, joined by the Nintendo Switch. Here
hey, there it is.
God. We can't open it yet, but
we can't open on camera.
I mean, we did open it.
But,
the Switch exists.
We can't show you the stuff inside the box.
You have the box.
Such a pretty box.
Yeah.
Big fan. You like the box, Call?
I don't actually see the box.
I like it.
Yeah, it's
the
nice.
unboxing's up, right?
It's a good box.
By the time this posts?
I don't know.
It is. Wednesday morning is the embargo, so yes, this has been up. Go to
Not for nothing, but
YouTube.com.
everything leaked already, so.
So whatever.
Those were stolen, Colin.
I heard the guy returned it?
The Nintendo came and straight up took it back from FBI
The
style,
Nintendo police?
kicked down their door. Reggie himself.
Reggie has a battering ram with Mario's head on the front.
Yeah.
Just, bah!
It's weird because you think you would want one of the 100 of them that are going to be sold to stay in the wild. But
Yeah, but no.
I got mine pre-ordered.
Hell
You pre-ordered
yeah.
Zelda
Me
too, right?
Got my Zelda
video
Pro.
games, Colin Moriarty, Greg Miller.
Hi, Greg.
Decided to stick with it. Why not?
You got to. Betty Ann told you to.
Held this for the first time today. I mean, it's, we'll have more to say about it.
Yeah.
So
I know, right? I have a lot to say about it.
But what are your Switch launch packages looking like?
What?
What are you getting day one?
Zelda.
Zelda?
And then I won't play another game
Are
until
you buying any other controller? Are you buying any?
I pre-ordered
how
the
much
Pro
money's
controller.
going into your Nintendo Switch launch?
$360, I would say, right? Plus tax, because it's the system plus the game.
Yeah, and that plus I bought the Pro controller because you lied. You said that when you take the Joy-Cons and you put them on the Joy-Con grip, it feels pretty good. It don't feel pretty good.
It does feel pretty good if you have baby
Feels
buttons.
like I'm holding a postage stamp over here. I need a meaty manwich. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so that's my
I've been doing
plan.
that for years with the Vita. So
Hey,
It's,
don't talk that way about Vita. You know we've had it up to here with
smaller
that shit.
buttons than the damn thing.
So I'll get Zelda and then I'll put it in the stasis until Mario comes out and then God knows what the hell happens
Mario
after
Kart
that.
though. I'm gonna be playing you and me ad hoc.
Colin
through
doesn't
the
like to
walls.
play any fun games.
I'm not playing Mario Kart.
He allows himself fun twice a year, max.
Dry Bones is back though. Dry Bones
is back.
Cares?
Battle mode's back.
It's
They
just
gotta
a
get
port.
golf on there.
The
I don't
port
care.
of an
New stuff.
amazing Mario Kart game.
Me and Tim get to play. Put the Nintendo.
I got my
Championship
Nintendo
on.
Switch
Yeah.
coming. I got my Zelda coming.
Sure.
I'm gonna wait and see what other games I end up just picking up.
Snipper clips. Oh, that's not
Snipper
launch,
Clips is
right?
digital, not launch. We still don't know the release date.
Sure.
March is still what
1-2
they're
Switch.
sticking to. 1-2 Switch. I want to make sure that at least the office has a copy.
Of course.
Whoever. I don't care if it's me or you, whatever. We don't need more than one.
Well, the thing
I'm
about
not
it is,
buying
like,
that
we had this conversation. So all three of us have pre-ordered our Switches. Today we got the Switch from Nintendo.
Yeah.
So depending on if you or I take this home and play with it, that'll become our Switch,
and
and
we
then the
donate
Switch
the
we
new
get
one.
that becomes the Office. And the Switches can have different profiles on them.
Yeah.
So it's like we load it up, we'll be fine.
Yep.
You know what I mean? We'll have all three profiles there. Kevin, I'm sure, will make one. Plays one game a year on the Switch.
I got my name. I made my name a long time ago, actually, and then I got an email with someone like that. Looks like someone was trying to get was trying to get that name or asked for like a lost password thing. That
Did you read the email? Because it might have
said
been a
that-
fan trying to help you.
well,
Because
no,
I got an email of a fan trying to help me, and he helped me.
it said
Did he really
it's-
help?
Oh yeah.
Yesterday I thought you were all offended he didn't help.
Well, I was worried, but then I managed to
Okay.
get
so
them to
what
connect.
was the email?
The
you
email
sent?
that said blah blah blah. Click this link, and then it said if you don't know why you got this email, you can delete it.
Okay.
That's what it said at the
Now,
bottom.
so here's the question though, because this is
And I also don't really care what my name
This
is.
has been confusing, is because when they started Nintendo accounts, I went and made a Nintendo account.
Right.
Yes.
And then when I started Super Mario Run, it was like log it in, and it was like I did that, and it was like, hey, do you want to make your account name or whatever? And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, so I made Game Over Greggy, and then this week it broke as people are starting to get ready for this. That names are
Mario
getting-
64,
Yeah.
helping the people out there.
Okay, so this almost happened to you. You had your
Yeah.
Nintendo ID.
So there is, there's the Nintendo Network ID, right, which is used for the Wii U and 3DS stuff. That was the clusterfuck when they didn't have things figured out.
Oh yeah.
Then they
have it
had
all unlocked
now
now.
that all their new stuff's coming out with the mobile games, they're trying to like actually create an ecosystem. That's when they added this thing, but you could have nicknames. So you had your Nintendo nickname, but those are things you can just change anytime.
Okay. Yeah,
Now
you
they
can change
have
the name
the-
anytime, buddy.
I know. I saw
Yeah.
that. I retweeted Kazurai's
that's funny.
little thing.
So now there's the Nintendo account, which is going forward what we're doing now. Also, there's the My Nintendo account, which is the old thing, like back in the Wii and DS days, that has been going up till now.
Now that's the one I used to get hats for. I
Yes.
claim my points on.
You get all
okay.
platinum points and all that. So you're
Audrey
still
Drake
getting-
getting goofy ass shit all the time. From
You're
them.
still getting platinum points and stuff now with these. With
She had
these
enough
new
points to
accounts.
get a job there.
Yeah, no, she won. Anyways, so it's really confusing, but I finally have Tim Gettys across.
So
all of
some
it,
kid hit you
so I'm
up though
happy.
and said, "I got Tim Gettys to try to save you."
Yes, he was like, because I know there's gonna be some asshole out there trying to fuck you over.
Yeah.
So like,
And
which
what,
is
is
what
he- he
happened with Pokemon Go, because before Nintendo had the shit all figured out.
And so what happened is you were able to switch it over and bring it in. No
Yeah,
problem?
he was a really nice dude. He emailed me and like he was like, here's the 10 password. You can change it. And like, here's your name. But what worried me is that I had my own account already. I just didn't have a username. I just had the nickname and the Nintendo Network ID.
Okay.
So then I had this other account. I had to figure out a way to link them.
Did you do it?
Yeah, I did.
Nice.
I lost a couple of my points, but I don't really care because the points are garbage at this.
Sure. Yeah.
Point in
Points
time
are no. What
anyways.
do we care about points?
It was like, it's points where it's like, you opened up Fire Emblem Heroes for the first time. You opened up Pokemon Go for the first time. I was like, all right, cool. I can do that again if I had to.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So anyway, I bought my Nintendo Switch. I got a Joy-Con grip.
Yeah.
The charging
charging
grip.
one, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I can charge them motherfuckers. I got
Yeah,
my
take
2 neon blue Joy-Cons.
Yeah.
Because that's what I wanted. I wanted the blue on blue. It's the kind of funny blue. It's this blue.
Well, first off, we just did a Game Over Greggy's show. Even this show, though, we are excellently color coordinated here in a kind of funny blue spectrum. Even Nick had a blue shirt on or whatever. But yeah, I mocked you, I think, initially when you did it. And then the more I thought about it, the more I think that's going to look really hot. The kind of funny blue on this guy.
It's going to look good. And now here's the thing.
Here it
Granted,
is.
when I'm outside in the public eye at this point, as a grown-ass 27-year-old man,
Yeah.
I want just the gray. I'm not trying to get attention on myself. I'm not trying to look like I'm playing with some toy or whatever. I don't want to deal with that. But when you give Tim Gettys the option to have obnoxious blue, I'm
Yeah.
in. I'm
Okay.
fucking
Okay.
in. Even if they make it complicated. Oh, we're going to sell this thing with one red and one blue. You'll
Bad
fucking
move.
catch me dead with red on this thing.
Whoa.
I don't roll like that.
Better blue than dead.
That's the only way to go. So I bought the additional blue. Also, though, because I'm like, the Switch to me, just like the Wii U, is going to be very much a friends are over, we're playing games together,
Sure.
local multiplayer type of system.
Sure.
So I need to have at least 4 controllers at all times.
Because God forbid Colonel invests some money on this.
Colonel, what's going to happen with him, I bet you, is he's not going to get one now. He's going to wait a while. Eventually, his girlfriend, fiance, at that point probably wife, will be like, Tim, what should I get Curran for his birthday? And I'll be like, get him the Nintendo Switch.
I mean, right? Why don't you
Just like I did with the Weii U and the Wii.
Why don't you get it for
Sold
his
him on
wedding?
the quality
Get him for his
consoles.
wedding gift.
Buy him one,
Yeah.
a Nintendo Switch?
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
He's only getting married maybe.
I don't know.
3 or
Do I
4
need to get him
times
a
in his
wedding
life.
gift if I'm like the best man?
Yeah.
Really?
It needs to be special, yeah.
Nah. I'll
Get him
be
in and
there.
get it engraved.
My presence
Back on the
is
back.
his gift.
Tim loves you forever, Colonel.
I'll bring my Nintendo Switch with my 4 controllers. Anyway, I got a Pro controller. Excited about that. So I'm 3 controllers in. I'm missing 1 at this point, but I'm away because I don't need a third.
Sure. Well, I think the most multiplayer we're going to
4.
be doing is us horsing around together,
Yeah.
playing some Mario Kart with
I can't wait to get on that Snipper Clips though.
Yeah.
I've been prepping Gia. I showed her a Let's
Gia.
Play of it. I'm like, this is happening.
Was her first?
She's stoked about
Was
it.
her first question? Are there trophies?
That was not her
'Cause
first
she's
question.
like, why would I
actually.
play this game if there's no
Second or
trophies?
third question. But yeah. She did ask, is this on the Vita? And I was like, baby, no.
That's my girl. That's my girl.
This is our Vita.
Yeah.
We're all this. And she's like,
This is our
ours. She's like,
system destined
we're
to be
excited about
destroyed.
this. And I was like, yeah, we're excited about this. So anyway, I'm excited about it. And that's what I'm getting for my launch day. No,
excited.
I'm not getting a micro SD card yet because I'm going to wait out for that. There's no need.
Yeah, you talked me down off that ledge. I was getting ready to do it, and you're like, well, you don't need it right away, and they're going to go down in price. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
Good enough.
All these people hooting and hollering about the Switch isn't even out yet, and there's already a game out that can't even fit on in this. It's like, who the fuck cares? These things are practically given away. It's not proprietary. If this is really an issue, you shouldn't be playing these games. Fact.
Hard to believe launches next week.
Yeah.
Because the GDC, you got PAX right on top of it. I got DICE this week. It's like it's all so muddled that I don't feel the excitement. And granted, we have one now, I guess, but
Oh, I feel the excitement.
I'm ready for it. I want it here. But even that day, it's not like that day is blocked out to just play Switch.
I think there's. I mean, I've been reading a lot of. I'm looking forward to playing Zelda. I think it looks fantastic. But I mean, I'm reading a lot of chatter. It doesn't seem. I mean, I'm sure there's excitement in certain spheres and Nintendo spheres, but there's certainly not a lot of excitement for Switch compared to Wii or certainly Wii or even Wii U. Like,
See, I think there's more
Once
than
again,
Wii U.
Colin was wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, each and every week we
There
get
is-
together here on the Kind of Funny
Wii U
Gamescast.
people didn't like or want.
The show that
That's
we
not
talk-
true.
Yeah, it is.
No, it isn't. People,
That's not true.
No, it's not. People thought the Wii U was gonna be like the fucking hottest shit ever. Now there are people out there that thought that it wasn't gonna be.
Yeah, us.
But there was super hyperbolic bullshit going on about the Wii U. I don't even see that about the Switch. That's what I'm saying. Is like, seems very tepid. People understand what they're getting. They're getting the Zelda machine that they're gonna have to wait 6 months to play another game on, and that sets expectations down, which I think is fine. I think it's gonna outsell Wii U, so I don't think that's a huge problem. I don't think it's gonna light the world on fire. Clearly. So
If you were excited for Wii U when it was coming out at launch, you were stupid.
I agree, but I remember the excitement. I remember that Friday. I think it was Friday it came out, right? Or was this?
It was Sunday.
Sunday.
It was Sunday. I remember.
Yeah, because I remember being off, like that night reading.
And that's why I stick by the fact that it wasn't. Maybe I'm just talking in our own echo chamber, but I remember when Charles tweeted he was begrudgingly going to go get it, and he was like fourth in line because nobody cared about this stupid thing.
See, that's crazy. There was so many lines.
Just let you know what Charles
just going to
Onyett said.
ceremony.
And if
where
you're
there's,
saying Charles
2
Onyett is a
targets
liar, we
and
have a problem.
5 game spots. There was so many people in all of the lines for that. It was
Bunch
a
of
disaster.
dumb kids. You were a dumb kid. You didn't know.
Yeah.
We'll see how it all shakes out. If they don't have a strong E3,
But the thing is
Switch
with
gonna be
all
really
of
in bad
all those
shape.
systems, whether it's the Vita, the Switch, or not even so much the Switch, but the Wii U, it's like those are things where it's just like no one was excited about it, and then when it came to launch day, all of a sudden it was just like, well, now I kind of want one because like the people that have them have a new shiny toy.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the thing. Unboxing a
The
new
Wii U
console,
is the
having
same
new
shit
thing,
with
yeah.
that. I was like, oh, look, this is a moment. Anyway, this is Kind of Funny Gamescast. Each and every week we get together, talk about video games, all the things we love about them, and all of that. You can get the show early at patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, or you can get it late at patreon.com. Nope, you just go to youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. I got distracted because all of a sudden the TV changed.
Every time we did a test, I opened it. It didn't click over
Yeah.
automatically, but here we are.
Anyways, this episode is brought to you by the one and only Patreon producer, Salem Ghanem.
Yep, that's
Can
right.
I get a fact check on
Yeah,
that?
that's right. Salem Ghanem. Were you just doing a Tuscan Raider?
Yeah.
Oh,
You like that? Yeah. That's for you.
That was nice. I like that. So the first topic of the day is not the Nintendo Switch.
Correct.
It is Horizon Zero Dawn. You guys have already given your review on
Right.
it. In particular, we're going to be talking about the photo mode
Sure.
of that game.
We're going to talk about Horizon in general, right?
Yeah.
Because I think it's a special game. You haven't weighed in on it. People are getting ready to play it at this time. Our review's up. By the time this posts on YouTube, our Let's Play will be up. You can go watch that. The Kind of Funny Gamescast exclusive where we play an extra hour of it is up. I want to know, what do you think of Horizon Zero Dawn?
Horizon Zero Dawn for me has been the roller coaster of a century. So I experienced it via your Let's Plays and sitting in, watching it all. And I was super sold on the game just because it's gorgeous and it looks very fun. And it looks like my type of game from an aesthetic point of view. It looks like the opposite type of game that I'd like to play from a gameplay point of view. Open world, here's a bunch of shit to do. Here's way too many side quests and all that type of stuff. We even call things errands. I'm like, no, not my type of game. I like the
It's not even-
the
it
more
doesn't even get
linear narrative based stuff.
Doesn't get the honor of being called a side quest.
Yeah,
It's
no,
an errand.
An errand. So I'm like,
Go
all
get
right,
milk.
that's cool. But I'm still like, all right, cool. I want to give this a shot because it's the AAA level that it's at. I'm like, this deserves my time, and also it looks amazing, right? The soundtrack sounds amazing. The visuals of it are great. The voice acting, all the things that I care about from a AAA experience as an exclusive game. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm sold on this. Started playing it, and I was like, I don't like the beginning of the game. The beginning of the game soured
crazy.
me so much. I was like, this is so tropey, slow cliche, and I'm like, it just put a bad taste in my mouth. Then I kept playing it. Immediately is way too big for me. Super open, and I'm just like, I don't like this, And then that's when we did the Let's Play, and I kind of watched you play and stuff, and the things you were doing, I'm like, well, this looks super cool. I want to get to that point. And you seemed way more invested in the story than I was at the point when I was playing. And then we did the Gamescast exclusive, and we recorded all this stuff really out of order because of embargo, so it gets complicated. Sure. But I was really down on it. I was like, I don't think I like this game. I like a lot of things about it, but it does not speak to me in the way that I like to play games and the amount of time I want to put into something and what I get out of it. Then I was like, you know what? Fuck this. Everything Greg's saying in this Let's Play is convincing me that there is the story, there is the gameplay there that I do enjoy. I just need to not focus on all the stuff I don't like. So then I just started playing it like Uncharted. And I was like, I'm just going to do the main missions. And then everything changed, and I fucking love this game.
Yeah.
Because it can play like a AAA linear experience if you want it to. And that's not even to say I don't enjoy the side quests when I do them. I just feel like they take away from what I'm trying to get from this game, and I can imagine they're great world building for the people that are looking for that. But it immediately changed. So I'm like, holy shit, this game's great. The story elements, the pacing of just playing the main quest is fantastic.
Right.
So I'm like, kudos to them for keeping that level of quality and polish. I think if there's one thing I can say about this game is that it's polished.
100%.
Like it is very, very, very technically impressive, and just it's fun. It's fun to play. That's huge. I didn't think there'd be as much of a focus on melee if you wanted there to be, which I do. I like playing that way. And it's, especially since I'm not super leveled up because I don't grind at all, facing some of the more boss fighty like monsters is challenging in a way that I'm like, this is what I like. I like this. It reminds me more of, we talked how I wanted the more Zelda style experience from an open world game. And I started getting that. I'm just like, man, like the fact that I could play this game so differently than you guys played it and still have such a great time is a testament to its quality. And I haven't beat it yet. That's why I wasn't on the review. But I want to say I'm probably over halfway at this point.
Nice.
And I'm just going to keep going through, and then Zelda comes. So that's going to be a whole thing. But like, I'm having such a great time. I'm definitely going to beat this game. And it's going to be up there for me for Game of the Year.
Oh,
sure.
yeah. I think, granted, we're in February, but I think you can easily see. I mean, like, I think we're going to have some stellar games this year. And I think there's going to be stiff competition by the time we get to December. But, I mean, right now, far and away, I think this game does so much so well. And it's so special. Yeah. And so, yeah, to the topic we're jumping into here is, like, if you've been following me on social media or anything like that, I've fallen in love with photo mode in this game, and photo mode not new to video games, but not something I've ever really fucked around with. I mean, I've seen it, in the Naughty Dog games, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I think, in Uncharted 4, I took a few snaps of like Elena and some perspectives that I thought were cool, and I was like, all right, cool. Well, shut up, not like that, you pervert. And I enjoyed that, and I remember when Batman added it for Arkham Knight or whatever, and I was doing DLC stuff, I was taking Batmobile beauty shots, but it's always been like, I don't get the point of this, and I don't know if it's the meeting here, the intersection of my own, like not love of photography. It's not like I have a great camera or something like that, but I like Instagram and I like making social media and framing things for specific things and trying to tell a visual story. And the fact that the game has so much going on and that the photo mode's so easy and so great that when we jumped in, when I went down to LA and played that preview event, like in the preview, I talk about the fact that I was playing the game on the back of, just one of the striders going through a thing. And I stopped it, went through, put this white border on it because I'm like, I'm going to have a style, which is not something I ever say when I'm taking photos. I'm like, I'm going to have a style for this game, for this photo mode that I think I'm going to get invested in, where I put a white border on everything and fuck around with it. And so I brought some of the shots I've done or whatever here. I'm putting up like 30 some. I think I hit 50 hours last night. I quote unquote have platinumed it. There's one corrupted area I need to clear, and once that's done, the platinum is mine. But since I've played on so many systems, and the trophies aren't live yet, I don't want to do it and pop the last trophy and then hope that when I sync everything, the game's smart enough to be like, oh, you earned a platinum. I'm leaving one trophy to pop to get the platinum. 50 hours in, I have something like 39 now, 40 photos. I cut some of them out of here because they were spoilery stuff that I'll show later and stuff. But I don't know how we want to talk about it or whatever. I mean, photo modes in general. I mean, we've been sitting on this one here of this black and white Aloy. This is in the middle of a battle. I hit pause, jumped into photo mode, was able to swing around, put a depth of field on it, so she's in focus.
Yeah.
Nothing else is in terms of it.
What I think is cool is you've been posting them on Instagram. Like, I don't know what your schedule is, but
Just when I want to.
I've seen a whole bunch of them, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm putting up way more on Instagram than I do on a normal day. Instagram,
Yeah.
I usually put up like maybe one or
But
two
it's
posts.
cool though because I'm seeing a lot of engagement with it, and
Yeah.
like you're getting like over 1,000 likes on each of these, which
Yeah.
I think is surprising because like
Yeah.
you'd imagine if you put the same thing over and over, it kind
Sure.
of degrades. But
Right.
no, people seem really into this because this game, again, every single way you look, every area you're in, it's like this is stunning.
Yeah.
And like the pictures do a really good job of being like, holy shit, this is a video game.
Yeah,
you can
and,
play this.
you know,
this is you playing it. Taking
Exactly,
pictures.
and I want to make sure we're keeping this going for audio listeners. The first one we were showing is this black and white one, depth of field, Aloy with a fire arrow drawn back. This next one is her coming down this slide or getting out of an area wearing one of the costumes that I think are ridiculous and stupid looking in this game. I wish I could make her look cooler and not have this diaper on her head because I don't want her taking damage.
the Tommy Pickles look.
What was
Not good.
interesting though is like Colin and I talked about this in the review and the fact that we've been for the most part blackout on this game. Cool, we've seen it at E3. We've given it game of the show at 2 E3s in a row. We're in. Looks great. I don't want it ruined for me. And the number of people who on this specific photo of Aloy sliding down this rail here pointed out the fact that Gorilla took feedback, I guess, from previous demos and added in that little thing she's holding. Because I guess in previous things, it was just her grabbing the pole with her hands, and people complained enough about that, or enough people were like, that looks weird, that Gorilla for the final game went and changed that and put something in there to show like what you're talking about, like the TLC they're putting into this game. Another one here, this is me playing with light. Like what's cool about it, and I'm not, again, a photo mode expert on other games by any mean, I think it's cool to be able to jump into the game when you use photo mode, and then this battle is happening where I'm fighting all these different dudes here. I think these are what the ones who spit the rocks. I forget their names. They're tearing it up, and spitting out the rocks. I'm fighting them at like noon. But when you jump in,
Corruptors.
Thank you. Wait, what?
Corruptors?
No, Corruptors are corrupting other guys. This is
They pick up the rocks and throw them too.
Okay, fine, whatever. This is happening at noon. I went through, you can change time of day. So I made it night, and I put stars in the back. The moon moves, the sun moves. You see the world swing around, so you can get the lighting just how you want it or whatever. Shaded her. One of the perspectives here, which is one of the landscapes of how beautiful this game is. This is another one, too, where in reality, Aloy's standing at the very front there, but you can turn her off to hide her to get right to what you're doing in the game. A dead body. To show we all return to dust at one point, Tim. Everyone's going to die at some point. Another perspective. It's one of those, like, I think for me, it's lazy, but a lot of them are panoramics like this, or, landscape shots with her. But it's just like, for me, I like this style of photo, especially when she's silhouetted by the sun or whatever. You have lens flare there, like all these different things showing
the scale of it too. I mean, it's just like, that's the thing, is like getting those E3 shots. Like, the camera work in this game is great. Like just holding the right stick and just holding it left or right. The way the camera swoops is like, man, it's so cinematic. Like even in just standing here, this feels like an epic adventure.
Yeah, 100%. And then this is me in a town. Like, there was a part in this story where these people were giving a presentation or like giving a little, not jokes, but they were performing of something or other. And I stopped and took the photo, and it for me struck a chord from when I used to be at the newspaper. And I'd go out on these dumb assignments or whatever with a photographer, and they would sit there and try to capture like candids of what's actually happening in the event. So for what's happening in this town, I thought that was interesting that there's that much life in the world that she's running around doing that. This is one of my favorite ones. I just took it last night. Black and white filter on, obviously. What's happening here is this was her idle animation. I had left it while I was screwing something, and I paused. I saw what was happening and paused it. It looks weird right here. I've brought the camera up, and she's looking up at a snowflake falling. It's actually the white dot that looks to be part of her headband. She's looking at that snowflake. I'm able to tilt it up, look down at her. I might have used up the field again.
This is the third album cover. It's like when she started getting really experimental with her music. And she stopped the genre that everyone loves.
And that's one of the goofy things about why I like this so much and posting them is that you start like this is just a beautiful shot. Again, that I think, I think for a lot of games you would look at these and think they were concept art or doctored in some way, where this is just me pausing the game mid-fight when I drew back the arrow. And
to be fair, it is doctored in the sense of fucking with the depth of field and filters and all that stuff.
Sure. This one, I think, honestly, for this one, I think all I have is a vibrant filter on. Like, you know what I mean? Just an Instagram filter for the image and stuff. But what you're talking about is like when I start doing these, I start making the story around them, which was interesting. For somebody who doesn't use photo modes, who doesn't do that kind of thing, I never would have thought that I'd sit there and be like, oh, like I'm documenting what's happening in this world, on this journey, in this town as I go in there. Another perspective here. Vibrancy. That thing. Colin, have you ever used a photo mode?
No. Not my thing.
Yeah. I'm surprised it struck a chord with me on this one.
Yeah, it's cool. I don't judge it. I mean, I think it's great. I like looking at pictures. But I have no passion for photography in the real world, so I'm certainly not going to have passion for photography.
That's the weird thing about it. Like
world.
I do here and there when we're doing stuff for goofy social media or whatever, but I would never think to go out and I'm like, I'm going to go take photos of this beautiful landscape or whatever. And now granted, maybe it's the technology holding you back. You know what I mean? Like iPhone camera can only do so much to make it look great. And granted, it's pretty awesome now. Not taking away from it, Timmy. I'm just saying. This is one of my early works. I don't like this. This is from my early period. I like that her tongue's hanging out. Like she's really focused on tightrope walking this. But I don't like it anymore, Tim. I want you to know that.
Okay.
It's one of the ones that's fallen off.
Yeah.
This is an earlier perspective shot, you know what I mean, of what I was doing. You saw her sliding down the other thing. This is a different way of sliding down. I didn't spin the camera enough.
Yeah. This one really shows what she's feeling. It's like there's so much empty space in her at this point.
Oh, wow. See, there you go. This
is right after you got a collectible.
Yeah, exactly. We got one of my figurines. There was a lot of cool stuff here in one of the cauldrons that I took us off. Don't worry, it's not a spoiler. You should know cauldrons are there. A lot of reviews are talking about them already. But going in and seeing that mashup, this is another one where I took her out of it. I just thought it was a cool perspective, all these pipes and stuff.
This is her fourth album when she goes back to the genre that people loved her for.
Hold on, I like that would be the cover for the fourth album. Her
that's the mixtape. That's the mixtape that accompanied the fourth album.
Oh, wow.
This is like the street tape that got people excited.
Wow. I don't know a lot about releasing albums, I guess. I didn't know about mixtapes for the album you're putting out and stuff like that. So it goes on like this. These are just the perspective shots and stuff like that. I just wanted to share with you guys and talk about it. Like, it's, the Gamescast we always talk about is jumping in and talking about what we love in games and stuff. And I think I was telling Gorilla, actually, I was talking to some of their folks on DM or whatever about the fact that I love the game. The game's awesome, but I feel rare when I finding something brand new I love in a game. Where photo mode's been in games before, and I've tinkered with it and I've fucked with it, but it's never spoken to me like it spoke to me in this game. Where this is a game where I was like, I want to document my journey through this. I want to take all these different photos. I want to just do this of a landscape, right? Because the game's so cool of our world deteriorated, and then however many years have passed, seeing what's happened there. Granted, Last of Us did that too, but for me, it didn't speak to me in the way of it's something about it being an open world RPG where I'm out there and exploring and discovering. I feel like that came up so many times in our review, right? The fact that for me, what works with Horizon is the discovery aspect and making that world your own. So to come in and this is abandoned, I killed at his chair. And after I cleared everything out and the settlement went back to that, he was still dead there. So I came back and took this shot. And it's not to celebrate my kill. It's just this weird thing of this battle that happened where this man's collapsed or whatever and shot in the chair and stuff like that. Another dead person that I fucked up. Don't fuck with me. You know what I mean? But that's the thing of it's this weird thing of people talk about chronicling their journeys in games all the time. And I remember when No Man's Sky came out, right? There was a guy who was doing it and keeping a written journal of it. And I was like, that's a really cool idea. I'm not inspired to play the game that way, but this is my visual log of this 50 hours I spent in this amazing place with this amazing character, with this amazing story. And I don't know. It's this weird thing. I can't put it into words precisely, but it's this weird picture book memory thing. They are also beautiful. And some kid, a lot of people on the Instagram photos have been popping up saying you should get these printed, you should get them framed. And there's certain ones where I'm I actually would do that and get it put up and put it somewhere and have it on the wall, because there's so much cool shit that happens in this game that you want to see, that you want to be a part of.
Yeah. The only photo mode I ever did was in Smash Bros. Melee, when I would jump with Peach and then turn the camera around.
You're a fucking person.
I mean, I did that though. That was a thing. And then that was a photo mode they added in Brawl for just that reason. I swear to God.
I believe you.
We all had that. There's the snapshot mode. If you try to tell me that you're between the ages right now of 20 and 30 and that you didn't have that on your GameCube memory card, you're a fucking liar. And those photos took up way more space than they should have.
Well, yeah.
We had to reorganize that shit back in our day.
Yeah, you lived a hard life.
You get to live. You can have unlimited Horizon pictures now,
I know,
Greg.
it's pretty great.
God, those GameCube. You remember those GameCube memory cards, Colin?
Yeah.
Those were some tiny little fucks.
They were. I remember them very well.
God.
I remember GameCube very fondly.
Yeah.
So this has been my journey. Thank you for letting me talk
it.
about how great photo mode is.
Oh, this looks cool.
Yeah, right.
Another artsy one.
Yeah, I know, right? Lots of death and devastation in there. And of course, in this world, it's Aloy crouching on a bed or whatever, so I can get the thing and then I get rid of her. But in this real world, she's crouched behind this poor woman with her dead family.
Oh my God. All right, that's a perfect segue into topic 2. It's not. It's just
it's just fun.
Yeah, it was just fun to say. I want to talk about Horizon Zero Dawn a bit more. Specifically, Aloy being the main character, Aloy being a woman. This game featuring a female protagonist, and kind of the repercussions that has had on people's thoughts about the game and all of that. Colin, do you have anything?
Yeah, I think Greg and I got on PS I Love You an interesting letter from a guy. I'm kind of just paraphrasing it, but just that he has a problem with playing as females in games, and there's too much, almost, I guess it's fair to say he was almost making the claim there's too much diversity and he can't relate to characters.
His whole thing was, as a man, he can't relate to these games that are putting women into the title character.
Bizarre. Yeah. And you've been seeing this a lot because there is a current of social justice in games coverage, which I agree with, and I think that it's kind of silly. I think most gamers agree with that, but it is important to have different touchstone representations, not for diversity. I don't believe in diversity for diversity's sake. I've never believed in it. I've used that term a lot. I think that creators have to create the story they want. So if their story contains all white people, well, that's the story. I mean, I don't think it's a racist thing. Or if it's just takes place with just men and there are not many women or any women, I don't think it's necessarily a sexist thing. But I understand that some people look at things like gender inclusion and race inclusion and all that kind of stuff in games and see it as a positive step. And I certainly don't see it as a negative step. I think it's great. But this particular gentleman kind of struck a nerve with me because it goes back to this idea, and I'm curious what you guys think about this, about relating to characters or relating to the games you're playing. And I find it so strange, from a very, very deep place in me, that anyone's playing a video game in order to relate to the character. I don't want to relate to the characters because I have something similar with Aloy. It's Aloy's story. So I'm an observer of her story, and I don't want to even be involved in the telling of the story at all, like in games like this. Now, there are games like that give you a lot of agency, like Mass Effect, where you can make your own characters, where I'm like, well, yeah, I'll play as a man. I play as typical male shepherd with his bald head because that's the way I liked it, because it was a little bit more of me in Shepard because I'm making all the decisions. I'm playing it in a way that resonates with me. But when I see things like that letter, or we read things like that letter, and it's like like, what are you trying to relate to? And also, why is it a negative that there's a female character in it? And through that social justice vein that we were kind of talking about, there are some people that think like Horizon's getting better scores because it features a woman character and stuff like that. I just think it's all kind of silly. So I don't know how Greg feels about the issue. I mean, we talked about it a little bit on PS I Love You, but
I mean, it's a multifaceted issue, and you presented a whole bunch of stuff there. You talk about like relating to a character. I don't think is a foreign concept, but I also don't think it is, and it's different for every person, I assume too. But I relate to Aloy, and even though I don't think you do, or that's like a touchstone to it, you do as well. Like, right? She has this father figure in Rost, and so like, they're playing on your emotions of what you feel about your family or your dad or your father figure, or how you would feel to have a character like that. And that's a part of it. And so there's those touchstones that I jump to where I feel like you can relate to characters in so many different ways, where with like Dead Space, Isaac Clarke is just he's an engineered dude. He's not the bro force, I'm here to kill everybody man. And so when he gets sucked into this whole adventure, I feel for him of like, whoa, this isn't what he signed up for kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And to an extent, Nathan Drake as well, right? Who is a fucking world famous pirate killer dude, but is affable and enjoyable and has friends and family and would like to hang out with them, but he wants to go do something and solve this mystery. Yeah. And it just happens that he has to kill 1 million people and one drinks blue sap. That doesn't make any sense. But then on the other hand, right, where it's like, you're picking and choosing. For me with Mass Effect, the original trilogy, I enjoyed it and I had a great time with it, but no, I played as FemShep, and that's not where I'm going with the relating thing. I never related with Shepard, period, because they were so militant. I talked about this in last week's Gamescast, talking about Andromeda, and the fact that this time the Pathfinders, like, oh, you guys are straight up normal people having jokes, having this levity, whereas like Commander Shepard always, even when I'm playing as FemShep and making choices and trying to fuck Garrus, like you are very much still talking in like, well, regulations this and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's a turnoff to me. And that's my main turnoff with like Call of Duty games usually, of the whole thing. Like I don't like playing war that seriously where we're saluting and talking about admirals and this, that, and the other. And so that's me, and those are my personal biases, and that's the kind of thing where I just don't care about Jarhead talk, and why I don't see most military movies that are like into shit like that. And so I understand needing to relate on some level to a character. I just don't think I've ever had it so boiled down, so base level, where I'm like, oh, it's a chick. Don't care about her experience. Clearly, there's nothing I can relate to her, right? Like, that's not the point. That's not the disconnect for me.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. I mean, you bringing this up, it reminds me of me watching movies. And I think that the difference between movies and video games, specifically games like this that are very cinematic and narrative driven, there's a lot of similarities to movies. The difference being movies are something that you just experience. Video games are something that you interact with. So you are Aloy because you are controlling her agency and what she's doing at that time, literally the choice of what she's saying. But when it comes to movies, it's like I think about how I relate to the characters, and it's kind of what you're saying. It's never like I relate with this character 100% and I'm all in on this.
Yeah.
There's a movie, Sing Street, that Miss Movies was talking to us about, and it's like the story of this dude that tries to impress some girl by scheming and forming a band even though he doesn't play music. And I'm like, at that character, I think I can relate to more than any character of all time, right? But I can't look at any other movie and be like, oh man, I pretty much fully relate with this character and their struggles, and this is my story. Yeah. So when you take that to video games, I'm like, it is more about, do you relate to the situations they're in? Do you relate to the decisions that they have to make and the obstacles that they have to face? And with Aloy in specific, it's like, all right, Aloy, Nathan Drake, their sex doesn't matter to me. And again, that is being said as somebody that has grown up playing as a white dude in video games forever. Shout out to my boy Mario.
What up, Mario?
So it's like, but I can imagine that it is empowering for the sake of diversity and whatever, that even if it doesn't add to the game that she's a woman, it does to women who haven't played as too many female characters, except for Lara Croft or Samus, or of course there is a whole bunch of them. But like, it's like even though to us we don't relate extra because it is, there are people that do relate more because of it, and I think that's an interesting way to look at it because I relate to this Sing Street character in a way that I don't think you guys wouldn't.
It's all lenses, and I get that. And that's something we've talked about before, usually when we're talking about like LGBT stuff, where it's like, well, the reason I think this should exist and these characters should exist because I want people, the minority groups among us to feel like, oh, they are being represented and they're not being ignored. And they can not look to it and say, I relate, but look to it as a normalization thing. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think Horizon does so well, is the fact that really Aloy faces a lot of prejudice in the game because of where she's from. There's like I think there's one with the whole hunting quest and getting the hunting lodge. People are like, I can't believe a woman's in the running to be in charge of the hunting lodge. That's like the only time it's really said. But even that is a secondary problem to the fact of her background and what's happening.
I mean, I think that also though that it being a minor thing still and not just being totally written out is normalizing that this is still an issue, and no matter what, everyone's
but it's not
the
biggest issue.
Exactly, everyone's going to face some type of judgment in whatever way it is, no matter what you are, whatever race, religion, sexual.
And it's the same thing, right? In Horizon, there's I think at least one side quest where you're like talking to a dude and he's like, yeah, my lover is, missing and I need you to, and it's like, cool, not like, oh, you're gay or hey, I'm gay. Like, it's not that. Just like, hey, the person I love the most is missing, maybe dead. Can you check it out? Yeah, I can do that. Mm-hmm. Do the same thing I do, check their trail, find them, come back.
I think it's all about how you define relate, and that's why I've always been a little confused by this because no, I can't relate to Aloy and I can't relate to anything that happened in Horizon. It's about a woman in the future on an Earth that is destroyed, and it's roamed by mechanical animals. There is nothing there for me to relate to, and that's why it's fun. Because I live a more mundane life in the real world. Like, I guess what I'm saying is like, I see things like this and I'm like, I get excited by a diversity of characters and a diversity of stories and perspectives, not through any lens of like, let's get everyone represented because I think the artists have to represent their art the way they are. Aloy is a white woman. I'm sure that bothers people because she's not a black woman or something like that. I'm like, who cares? Like, like if Aloy was a man, it wouldn't really make any difference to me. But I like seeing those things because they provide perspective. You can't relate to someone else's perspective unless that is your perspective. So like I play these games the same way like we talked on PS I Love You, where I was like, it's like reading a book. Like, I'm not reading a Tom Clancy novel being like, man, I can relate to the general here. It's like, no, this is someone else's story. I have no control over this. Like, this is, even when you have agency or control in games, you really don't. I mean, we know that. Like, there's no true game in which like any permutation, you're not going to find a permutation that wasn't planned in some way. And so I see things like this and I'm like, first of all, I think it's great that people are playing games for different reasons. And I'm glad that even though this gentleman that wrote in seems super misguided, that people have standards in which they want to play and what they want to see. I think that's fine. But I guess it showed me a little bit of a disconnect in the way I play games or the way I consume fiction, where we all have seen those movies like where it's, Seinfeld, like, oh, you're Jerry and I'm George and all. It's like, but like, you can't relate to them. You have no idea. Like, there's nothing about me. I love George. I love Larry David. That's a really great example. Like, I wish I was Larry David because I think he's so fucking funny. He doesn't give a flying fuck about anything and just lives his life. But I'm not like Larry David really in any way. Like, if I was, I would be happy about that. I'm like maybe 20% Larry David. I can't relate to Larry David's experiences. I can't relate to Larry David's doing. That's not why I watch Curb Your Enthusiasm. I watch it because it makes me laugh. And so I see things like that, and I'm like, why do people need fiction to relate to fiction? It's just strange. Like, I absorb fiction because I don't want myself for it to be about me too. I don't want it to be about my world. I don't want it to be about anything that has to do with me. That's why it's fun. I don't watch Band of Brothers and I'm like, man, I'm just like, Winters here. I'm like, no, this is not, Colin's not involved in this.
I hear you. And and that's the thing, but I think games are different than reading or watching. And that's the thing where it is like Tim can go play the game and you and I are super stealthy and he's using melee, which I only used for, critical strikes after I had taken somebody down by their weakness and stuff. So there is that choice of I'm playing the game the way I play the game. I'm using the weapons I use. You use that machine gun thing I never even bought or
right.
whatever.
But that goes back to like, that's us playing a video game. Tim brought up like Mario. It's like, if you can relate to certain characters and certain things, just like you can relate to a protagonist or an antagonist in a book, then certainly you should be able to, at a base level, relate to anything going on in a video game. But you can't relate to Mario. Who the fuck relates to Mario?
Brian Altano.
Who relates to Tetris? Who relates to like
Russians.
So
I did always choose Princess Toadstool in Mario 2.
Oh, really? I chose Toad.
I was all.
But
always Toadstool.
Toad was the G. You picked things up quickly. Now
Peach
the
could fly. Excuse me, Toadstool. Fuck this Peach bullshit.
So I don't know. It's like I guess it's kind of on multiple points because I think it's great that there's diversity in games because I think that is empowering and important to people out there. It's not important to me, but I am a white male. I accept that. And while I don't agree with diversity for diversity's sake, I do agree with diversity of perspectives and diversity of stories that can be told. I'd certainly find it quite boring if a white man was telling every single story that I consumed. But I never looked at Horizon. I was like, this would be much more relatable if the mechanical dinosaur hunter in the apocalyptic future was a man. Like, I guess that's what I'm saying. Like, there's nothing relatable in that story. And when you look at video games, there's almost nothing relatable in any story. If you define relate and relatable as the definition of the word, you know, like and that's why I think that, you know, I get a little disturbed with this rancor about women, about inclusion, being inclusionary. And I'm like, of course we should have those things, but why can't I'm hung up on this guy because I'm like, why can't you relate to someone who's not a white man? It's just weird, you know? And is every video game you ever played you trying to relate to something? Because I guess I just never looked at it through that prism, that lens, where I look at my favorite books, Yossarian and Catch-22, like one of my favorite protagonists in anything ever. It's like nothing relatable to it. Like, I don't know what the fuck that was like. It was terrible, but it's a great story. I enjoyed that. I love that character. When I watch I watch John Adams and I revere these men that they're portraying, but I'm like, I can't relate to their experience. That's what's fun about it. I can't relate. I live in fucking 2017. I own a business. I live in an apartment with my friend.
Kevin's kind of your slave though, so you can relate on that level.
That's not funny, Greg. You can't joke about slavery.
There's an interesting like kind of side tangent to this where I was on GameFAQs reading about something else, and someone posted there was an article on The Guardian. And it was Horizon Zero Dawn, the feminist action game we've been waiting for.
Okay.
Didn't read the article, but you
just
can
that headline in general. You're like, that's inflammatory.
You can kind of like, you know, that's going to get some negativity attached to it, right? And his response to it was he posted it, and the subject line was, "Is this game all about sexism?" And then in it, which said, "This article's just put me right off the game. Is it going to be all political and a little social justice warrior circle jerk about how powerful women are, like this article suggests, or is it just going to be something that normal people can just play and enjoy?" And it's just like, there's so much. It's a very problematic situation all across the board, right? But I think that it's weird that this guy can see that thing and just be like, "Nah, fuck this," just based off someone else's article. It's like, look at the game, make your own kind of decisions from it. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, I think that there's nothing wrong with people taking some type of political understanding from playing the game. Like, that's a good thing when there's layers and it's deep and it means different things to different people, right? Like, I would be shocked if there was a AAA PlayStation 4 exclusive game on the level of Horizon where it's like you play it through and the only thing you can take from it is, this is a feminist game. If you play through the game and play through the story and it's like, oh, I can see some feminist, the tones to it or whatever, that's one thing. But like, this guy's acting like, oh man, this is a like, what's that even mean? You know?
Yeah, I agree in the sense that, you know, I agree with you, but I also, not to his point, but the contrary or a different point of view is that when you see, and this is why the fucking endless, the Rubin Report, a show I really love, Dave Rubin, a buddy of mine, runs it. He made up this term called the Oppression Olympics, which is like my favorite term that I've heard in a long time, where he's like, everyone is trying to be more oppressed than the next person. And everyone's judged based on like, how oppressed are you? Well, if you're a poor black man, your oppression level is this, way more oppressed than the middle-class white man, who's less oppressed than the transgender person. And you see these kinds of things happening where, like, you know, with Bayonetta is a great example, where I looked at a game like Bayonetta from Platinum and I was like, well, this is a strong, sexually confident female character that's destroying people and she's fucking kicking ass, and what an empowering character that must be for women. But that's not the case for the people that look for everything to complain about, you know, because she's too scantily clad and sexualized. So Bayonetta is not good enough, you know what I mean? And then you see Aloy, and that's too much, you know. And I'm like, why can't we just, first of all, I mean, I don't think it's very spoilers, but like, Horizon's society is very female dominated in the game. So it doesn't just stop with Aloy, but it has nothing to do with anything. No one ever says a goddamn word about it. That's just the way it is. And
there's male leaders and there's female leaders,
Right.
and that's the whole point. Is they're just leaders. They're in charge of whatever they're in charge of, and nobody's like, you know?
Yeah.
But like, why is everyone? Because I guess why I bring up the Oppression Olympics, which again is an amazing term, is on one end you have it the way Ruben defines it, which is interesting, but you have it on the other end too, with like everyone trying to be oppressed by the inclusion of diversity, by the inclusion of all these things. And I just look at it from a very base level where I'm like, why can't we just look at it as just different stories from different perspectives that we cannot relate to, that we should not relate to, that no one relates to? No one can relate to fucking Commander Shepard flying through mass relays because it's fucking fake.
Well, I've been on an airplane.
And so like, but that's what's so fucking fun about it. If I found a character that I could absolutely relate to, then I'm playing my life, and that's boring. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make. So people should embrace this kind of stuff, not from a, if it pleases feminists, that's great. I don't care. Like, if it pleases, all these things, all these quotas that must be met, that's fantastic. But from a storytelling perspective, we should embrace this kind of thing. We should embrace an Aloy. We should embrace, more female characters, more minority characters, because it just gives us different perspectives by which we can't relate to them per se, but we can enjoy them all the same. And then it gives everything a little bit more of a special feel. More of a not to use the nomenclature I've been using, but a diverse feel, just based on fiction. Because you read some of this shit and it's like, you can't, like this guy, you can't read the Scarlet Letter because Hester Prynne is a fucking woman. Doesn't make any sense.
No, because she committed adultery.
I mean, I can relate to her because I too got fucked by my priest and became pregnant.
Whoa!
But you understand what I'm saying? It's just strange to me. Like so I like seeing things like this. I hope people keep driving forward. Everyone's all, there's some people upset that Ellie's going to be the main character in The Last of Us 2. And I'm like, isn't that the obvious evolution?
Same guy yeah.
Isn't that the obvious? Yeah, the obvious
same dude.
Yeah.
obvious evolution of the series.
He feels like he's being pushed out of video games, which is just weird. Just a
Oh,
weird
sir,
thing.
I think you're pushing yourself out of video games. And I don't know. I wish people would just enjoy this diversity.
Yeah.
Just because fiction becomes more richer and deeper when we get those kinds of things. I mean, if the next great game I like is a white male, I'm sure I'll play as a white male in Mass Effect. Okay.
Fucking racist.
But that's because I'm a full blown racist, so it's a hard thing to kind of tap into.
Tim, how do you relate to Sonic the Hedgehog?
Well, he goes fast. I dream of that. I can't do it though. This is actually a great segue into.
Are we talking about Sonic the Hedgehog?
We're talking about diversity in games and potentially the lack of diversity in games. Here's a question from Jellybelly100.
Jelly
He says, "What's up, guys?
Can't relate.
So after
I don't like jelly beans. I can't relate to you.
After seeing Marvel's game deal with Square that was announced recently, I got to thinking, Sony has a deal for the exclusive Spider-Man game being developed by Insomniac. Do you think that Microsoft will do a deal with Marvel or Square for either an exclusive game or at least a timed exclusive like we saw with Rise of the Tomb Raider? The Microsoft games lineup seems pretty weak compared to the strong lineup that Sony seems to have for the next 2 to 3 years.
I'd say.
So an
longer
exclusive
than that.
from this partnership would be a huge deal and help fill a seeming lacking lineup of games. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Thanks for a killer show." Now, this is an interesting question because for weeks, I've been waiting until the dream team right here gets together to talk about Marvel games and what they mean for video games. Because this is huge. We've seen what Marvel and Disney and Star Wars have done to movies and blockbusters in terms of they're just being like put out at a high quality rate. We haven't had duds yet. I mean, like real duds. At the very least, these movies are good.
Yeah.
Right? Like even Dark World, it's just
It's
not.
enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's fine, yeah.
But it's like, okay, cool. At least like
Captain America Civil
they're up
War.
there.
Whatever.
I fucking hate you. I fucking hate you so much. But in the last couple months, there's been a lot of news. Square Enix partnering with Marvel for an Avengers game.
Yep.
Being made by what team? was
Eidos
this?
Montreal.
Eidos Montreal.
Yeah.
Who made?
Wait, no, that's wrong. Sorry. It's Crystal Dynamics is making that. Eidos
Yes.
Montreal is being pulled off of Deus Ex.
Yes. So Eidos Montreal being pulled off Deus Ex as a franchise. We don't know the future of that at all. and they are going to be helping Crystal with Avengers.
Yeah.
But then there's also rumors that they are making a Guardians of the Galaxy
That's it.
game.
Thank you.
That's the thing that is not confirmed, but there's been a lot of rumors in the same way that we've seen rumors of Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which is all but confirmed.
Yeah.
When you start putting these things together, it starts to look pretty obvious at what we're looking at here. They put out that trailer for the Avengers, and it was very much just a CG teaser, like get hyped moment, please be excited type thing. But it really was a message of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Disney approach to things is going to make its way into video games. And with franchises like Deus Ex seemingly being shelved to make room for this, that is kind of the level of game where it's like Deus Ex is like the low tier of AAA,
Sure.
Where it's like, it's up there. But it's like not selling on,
It's a niche
the
game.
levels. Yeah, exactly.
And that's what as a huge company like Square Enix, you cannot sit there and make niche games.
Yep. So
At least not with that development cycle, at least not with that investment. Mobile, sure, something different. Why not?
So I just want to hear you guys' thoughts on this. And I thought his question was a nice lead in too,
Sure.
because there is the idea of, okay, now, well, there's Avengers and potentially Guardians on this side, but then Insomniac's making Spider-Man. Where does Spider-Man fit in this universe? Is it all one thing? Like, is it a Marvel video game universe, or is there the Square Marvel universe and then the Sony Marvel universe?
Sure. I mean, let's go broader than that before we get into the weeds on where we think the universe is netting out. And I think Colin and I have talked about this a lot. And I think when we initially talked about it, I think we were on different sides of it. I think this is a great move. I love this move. I love what they're doing. I always go back to that story of you and I going to see Avengers Age of Ultron. And they're like, do you want to come to an early Avengers screening? We're like, yeah. Like, oh, Marvel Games is going to have a presentation. We're like, all right, whatever. And we got there, and that's when Bill got up. That's when Mike got up, and they were like, hey, like, we have done games wrong before, and we're not going to do them wrong anymore. We're here. The first announcement is that we've partnered with Telltale. We didn't know at the time that would go on to be a Guardians of the Galaxy thing. We've partnered with Telltale. We're doing that, and you're going to see from here on out us taking this seriously. And we had seen when Disney got the Marvel license, those Activision contracts go away. Those shit, Spider-Man games getting put out every 9 months or whatever go away. And we didn't know what they were going to do with that. And when they came out and they were like Guardians, or when they came out and they said Telltale, I was like, brilliant. Telltale's good at comic book. This is before Batman. They're good at comic booky things. This is a great fit. This solves superhero action problems. That's why I'm always saying they should make a Superman game. That's awesome, and let's see what goes on from there. Then it was Spider-Man with Insomniac. Now it's Avengers here, and then what you assume to be is Guardians with Eidos Montreal. And I think the argument Colin and I had initially, and I forget if it might have been Telltale. It's probably going to come up more with Insom is using someone else's IP versus making an original IP. And I think what's interesting with this, people we're talking about now, Insom, Crystal, and then Eidos, is the fact that you're talking about three people there who have had original IPs that are awesome, that should be huge, come out and not do the numbers they should do, right? I mean, Sunset Overdrive, we can talk about with Insom. You can toss in Fuse or whatever the hell. Is that what it ended up being called?
Yeah, it was Overwatch, and that was Fuse.
Yeah.
Or Overstrike. I'm sorry, Overstrike.
Yeah. Then Tomb Raider, which I don't have an answer for you why the new Tomb Raider isn't a bigger deal. The argument always is they made these bad deals with Microsoft, so you get it out there, it comes out, it's kneecapped there. By the time it comes to PlayStation, how do you get behind promoting a game that is old? Old game is old. And then of course Deus Ex up in Montreal with Eidos, and it's the fact that I don't think original IP should go away, but I do think there's something to be said that we have these talented teams, and rather than all right, cool, go take another shot with Deus Ex. See if you can make it matter this time and not make it matter. Square looks at that studio and closes that studio down. They lay people off. They do these different things. I think there's something to be said for saying people want this. People want these kind of games, and not only do they want them, they want great ones. Mm-hmm. I'm flabbergasted that we are sitting here in 2017 and not every major superhero has been given the Batman Arkham treatment. Like when I'll never forget leaving that demo with Anthony Gallegos for Batman Arkham Asylum. And he was like, that was awesome, right? And I'm like, I can't tell. I don't know. I've been burned so many times, and we were doing secret stuff, and then you jumping ahead, and then we're doing like just fucking button mashing fighting. I don't know. And when we got that game and you were like, oh my God, this is a love letter to Batman. This is a love letter to an IP that people are desperate for something awesome with. It was like, why hasn't it happened with Spider-Man? Why hasn't it happened with Superman? Every superhero out there. And the fact that we are here now and it still hasn't happened, the fact that Marvel's grabbing this and doing this, it's like, well, here we go. Here we go. They are going to take over the way they took over movies. And my hope is that for an Insom to do this, for a Deus, Eidos to do this, for Crystal to do this, who Crystal, again, phenomenal with these Tomb Raider games. The hope is an influx of money, your team can still be big, and then you get to go do what you want to do. You know what I mean? The fact that Guerrilla just did Horizon, an original IP and all this stuff, it isn't lost that they've done Killzone forever before that. And that was the thing that, okay, this is doing well. Could do better. It's still fine. It's a launch thing. We believe in you. Different story, of course. They're first party, so Sony's not going to cut them and blah, blah. But when you're a huge company like Square Enix, like, you can't sit there and be like, all right, well, keep fucking taking shots. Tomb Raider is always going to be a thing for them, but how they do it and how that works is different. I think this is just a brilliant move, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's, as a fan of comic books, comic book movies, comic book characters, and also comic book games, I'm very excited to see these very talented teams work on games and what we can get from that. Because it's like, love Lara Croft, Tomb Raider is great, but the idea of it being Iron Man, I'm like, oh, I am more excited about that. I think that's cool, and I'd love to see what they do on that level. But in addition to this stuff, there's Marvel vs. Capcom, which no one ever saw that coming back for a fourth installment. Like, MVC 1 and 2, huge deals. MVC 3, it came back and surprised a lot of people, but people didn't love it. The fighting game community wasn't on it as much as they were with 1 and specifically 2. But the fact that we're getting another one, like, that's a game that was caught in licensing hell. So this is Marvel being like, we're fixing this shit, getting the licenses where they need to be, and like, all right, Capcom hasn't fucked this up, so we're going to give them another shot. And I really think that that's a smart move, and the fact that we're getting Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite so soon is telling that they want to get this ball rolling. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 specifically introduced me to so many Marvel characters that I didn't even know. And it reminds me of Smash Brothers in the way where it's like there is all these classic characters, and you were very familiar with a couple of them, like Wolverine and Spider-Man. I don't know who Thanos is. I learned Thanos because of Marvel vs. Capcom 2. And getting that out, introducing video game players, gamers, to this roster of characters, and then obviously they're already familiar because of the movies and all this shit. It's like these kids know who Black Panther is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like they wouldn't have before. Now Black Panther will probably be in the Avengers game, at least to some extent, right?
Sure.
I'm most interested that they're coming out of the gates, seemingly, with Guardians and Avengers. That's a lot of characters.
Yeah.
That's a lot of gameplay styles. And I wonder, I guess Spider-Man's the one kind of outlier, which is smart, right? Like, what other Marvel character is a Batman level character that can own his
solo
own
guy
game,
who needs to
right?
go out and do this
Like,
stuff,
I feel like an argument could be made for Wolverine,
Yeah.
maybe Iron Man at this point, but
Sure,
at the
Cap.
same
I mean,
time,
you
like,
could do it, but I mean, like those guys
Avengers.
are Avengers.
Yeah.
You assume that, and like this could easily. I mean, like it's to your one of your first points of like, is this all in the same universe and stuff? It's like that sounds crazy, but it isn't, and that's because that's how movies used to sound. That sounds crazy. They're gonna be all in the same thing. If you have whichever game hits first, who fucking knows? Easter egg where Spider-Man swings in at the end or whatever. That's fucking rad. I mean, I don't think you'll see that. I think they will be separate universes because I think they need to do that with different developers, different publishers. Like, there's so much happening. Granted, they're all Marvel properties, but I still think that's a lot to be like, all right, Crystal, somehow kick it to Insomniac and like they talk to each other and make that not be weird.
So, Colin, I'm really interested in what you think about what this is going to do to franchises like Deus Ex and all that.
Well, I mean, I think, Deus Ex is fine. Deus Ex will come back, and Square Enix owns that IP, so they can get someone else to work on it, even outside in a second party perspective. But to me, as I've marinated on this kind of deal, it's a smart deal. It's also the deal of least resistance for everyone involved. If Marvel was actually truly, truly smart, they'd use their money and their power to make their own studios that would make these games. So I think that using this will cost them less money. They will therefore make more money. And can contract all sorts of different unique and interesting things. I think the Spider-Man deal with them, like the guy asked about Xbox exclusivity, I doubt it. I think that the reason that I think it's pretty obvious why PlayStation scored a Spider-Man exclusive. And I wouldn't be super surprised if in the family of Sony, that's like a part of the quid pro quo that's going to get Spider-Man out of that universe, like out of their hands. So I think that there's way more to that deal than a lot of people are talking about, and I just don't think we know the details of it. That's too strange to me to be anything to be a coincidence. I don't think it's a coincidence. I think that's part of the exit strategy for Spider-Man getting that. For Marvel being like, we're gonna take him back now.
You've had your chance, Sony.
And I don't think Sony Pictures obviously has a pretty tumultuous kind of few years, so I don't think that they might be able to get a lump sum of money, whatever it might be. I am personally, there's two things. I feel bad for DC. The DC has a terrible. Compared to Marvel, is a terrible stable of characters. They have a few characters that are really, really important, like Batman, Superman, right? Like and a couple others, but like Aquaman doesn't give a flying fuck about any of these characters. But in games, it was in 2009 when Arkham Asylum came out and really shook the idea of a superhero game up and really gave us. Not that I know it too deeply, but really the first truly AAA superhero game, I would say.
I would agree with that.
And
I do one quick aside. I do want to give a shout out
Shout out
to
to Spider-Man too.
Oh well, no, Jesus, my balloon. I was gonna say Injustice. That's I know not the same, but I haven't mentioned it at all. We haven't mentioned it all. I just want to say. Injustice.
But and it reminds me of Batman Begins and kind of the trend of DC making great movies and then dropping the ball, and then they made great games and they dropped the ball, and it's like, they don't have the stable to proliferate the way Marvel does. So Marvel was very smart to identify these things in movies and then identify these things with games. I don't necessarily agree with the way they're going about it. I think this will pay greater dividends if you can bring it all internal. And I do think it's a huge mistake that they didn't create a couple studios to do these games. Like they have plenty of money. They can attract all sorts of talent. They can poach people from all over the place and really controlled it.
But isn't that Epic Mickey? Right.
That's my counter argument to it all is that Disney did this. Like, you know what I mean? This is Marvel, but it's still Disney.
Well, old Disney, like Disney pre-Marvel did this. Sure. Like this is not. Epic Mickey's 9 years old.
Sure,
or 8 years old.
I'm not saying that's the quality and the da 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 da. I mean, they had the Pirates game everybody thought looked good and da da da. I think this goes back to what we were just talking about on the Game Over Greggy show or whatever, but about playing to your passions and whatever. I don't think there's anything wrong with Disney/Marvel being like, we want awesome games and we want awesome games now, and we don't want to incubate a studio and build out a team and worry about if they're going to do it and then see them get their sea legs and figure all these blah, blah, blah. I love the idea that they've gone through and been like, Tomb Raider was a great game, and Deus Ex was a great game, and Sunset Overdrive was a great game, and these are teams that are amazing. They're just trying to work with things that aren't necessarily resonating with people. We resonate with people. Let's get the best people in here to work on it.
Right, but the counter argument to that is that this is the path of least resistance that will give us give them the best possible product. This stymies their ability to grow the brand. Square Enix is not going to make only Marvel games. At some point, is Marvel just going to treat Square Enix's studios as a first party relationship? Is Insomniac now just going to make Marvel games? In other words, this seems to be one-off things that might, that probably involve lump sum payments to the studios to keep them alive, maybe points on the back end for how well the games do or how well the games score, I'm sure. But Marvel doesn't own, the studios that make these things and has only a limited amount of control over them. And the inverse is actually more important, that the studios have other things to worry about, and they're going to start making other games or whatever. So these are going to be one-off kind of shots into the dark. And I would be surprised if Insomniac makes more than one Spider-Man game. I would be surprised because this is Insomniac specifically. They were fucking obsessed with their own IP, and now they're not anymore. I'm sorry, that's still their directive there, and this seems to be a thing to keep the lights on so that they can do those kinds of other things.
I think you're thinking. I think the contracts out there have to state how many games there are, where the options are to get in and out of a clause, what that's going to be. I don't think Marvel would ever enter into these conversations and say we're going to do one-off things. I think it's the fact of, yeah, their money gets in there, and there is the Spider-Man team, and then there are teams working on other stuff, and it's like swing shift. Like when somebody does burn out and they don't want to do Spider-Man 2 or whatever, they get to move off, but there's still Spider-Man 2 happening.
I guess I look at the situation with Crystal Dynamics just going to make 3 Marvel games in the next 10 years. I don't think so. Eidos Montreal is just going to make 3 or 2 or 3 Marvel.
That's why you see Crystal and Eidos doing this weird thing for Shadow of the Tomb Raider, whatever it is. There's something going on there to keep everybody going. But I think it is. Think about it this way too. These are studios that are underappreciated, respected, I think, on the mainstream culture. And I think you're talking about that. I think when the accolades and sales and money and awards start pouring in for if they nail Spider-Man and Avengers and all that different stuff, I'm like, yeah, they're going to make 2 more of those. They're going to be fucking all over that.
Maybe. I mean, I look at that again. Marvel gets the accolades. So the studios, yeah, they made the games, but they don't own the games. They don't own the IP. They don't have any control over anything that's happening with them. And that's what I'm saying. Like, the first half of it makes great sense. Let's get these studios, let's pay them money, and they'll make great games. I have no doubt that all these games will be great. But it's the latter half, the years 6 through 10, where it's like you could have just invested in studios that could do these games and actually control the entire scenario in perpetuity. It would have just taken a couple more years of preparation. That's it. If Marvel is so confident in its slate of movies and what it's doing, then it shouldn't matter. That it's going to take a couple of years.
But it would have taken a couple more years for an unproven product. That's the thing.
But it wouldn't be unproven because they would be able to get, like, just because a studio is being made, it reminds me of, like, oh God, what's a good example? I don't know. Like, they're not just some fly-by-night operation. They could have gone and gotten anyone they wanted. They could have literally just gotten anybody that they wanted. And it would have been harder I guess what I'm saying is it's easier. This deal is easier in the front and it's going to be harder in the back end. I would have put the difficulty in the beginning and been like, no, like, we're a new Marvel, we're a new Disney. We have this great shit going on, because it wouldn't. I mean, not that I don't know a goddamn thing about movie production, but my assumption is that Marvel Studios and Disney and all these guys are the ones that produce all the games, right? Or the movies, right? It's the same silo. They have different producers and directors, but it's the same silo of production. You would have to assume it's not like they're going to Paramount and being like, you guys make these 2 movies, and
you're working with different production companies.
Right, well, that's what I just said. Like, but it's silo, but you're working with now different in gaming. You're working with different publishers. You're working with different. It's very convoluted and complicated. It's going to make it much harder in the back end. I believe that, but I don't think the products are going to suffer. What I'm wondering is if the longevity of the products will be there, because now they're going to, like, say Insomniac. My assumption is that Insomniac got paid a lump sum for Spider-Man. I can't imagine, and Sony didn't really. I can't imagine that they're going to make much more money than maybe like some incremental things based on sales. But this is clearly a lump sum front payment. We get more money on deliverables and stuff like that. But what happens when Insomniac's like, well, we see a window for our own IP, and you might want Spider-Man. No one's going to make this sequel as well as us, but we're not making it. That's when the problems are going to erupt. And it's not a huge problem, because do we need another Spider-Man game? Probably not. But it's just something to think about. I think that they made a smart and shrewd move. I just think that they could have been smarter and could have been shrewder. Because I certainly would want control. Because now they have to employ a bunch of producers that go to and deploy to all these studios, and you could have just cut that whole level out.
I think that's their level, though. I think that's their investment is in those producers, in the visionaries that are like, all right, we're going to make sure that we got the fighting game over with Capcom, we got the story-based stuff with Telltale, we got the more third-person action covered in multiple veins over here, and here. And I think it's kind of like saturating the market from all angles in a way that if it was their own studio, they'd only be able to focus on so many things at once. And they could have done that and a couple of the other things, but I think that's when it's like you need to either focus on making the games or focus on managing the other people making the games. And it's interesting, though, to look at this because it is kind of the anti-argument to their movie strategy, where they sold off all the rights to their characters to Fox and who's the other
Sony.
one? Fox and Sony to make the movies and stuff, and then it fucked them in the long run because they should have just done it themselves, but they couldn't have done it themselves without doing it with the other people first. And I think that's what we're seeing with the video games now, is that they are not able to just come out the gate and make great games. They come out the gate and make pretty good games, which fucks the entire roadmap.
I guess it seems. I mean, this is the strategy that Disney is using with Star Wars too. So it's not a huge surprise. They blew up games that were almost done in order to get their vision out there. And it seems like they want to have a sort of agnostic kind of relationship with publishers and studios and I mean that's and hardware. But
very interesting thing too with Star Wars added. So now all of a sudden it's EA, Crystal, Eidos Montreal, Insomniac, like all these different teams working on Marvel and Star Wars properties.
Right, but the Star Wars thing to me is way more comprehensible. Simply because it's one publisher, So now, and the publishers, the studios are making the Star Wars games are owned by that publisher. So now, it's way. I mean, to me, that's way simpler. And not that it would have made most sense, but you could have, since they're working so intimately with Square Enix, you could have just been like, Square Enix is going to do them all, and that would have actually even made more sense. Because I am super curious, like how else this will evolve. Only 3 publishers are involved in this right now, but it could. So it's Capcom, Sony, and Square Enix, but it could grow in scope and size. But when you talk about
Telltale.
and Telltale, so 4. When you talk about the core Star Wars games, there's 1 publisher. That's an easier silo to comprehend, and I don't know. I think you'll. I mean, I'm pretty confident you're going to see that play out, but it's not going to be anytime soon. I mean, this is going to be long after those games come out. So if we're still doing the show in 5 years, we can certainly cover it at that time.
I think in this climate, there's no way they entered into contracts for one-offs. There has to be clauses in there that this is a trilogy of Spider-Man games, or if it sells this well, you do this, da-da-da-da.
We'll see.
We will.
Final topic of the day, as always, brought to you by you. You can go to kindoffunny.com/Gamescast topic, just like Jeezy did. Woo! After the Switch announcement, I noticed Bomberman is going to be a launch title. I love the series and haven't played one in over 15 years. However, Konami's attached to the game. What do you normally do in these types of situations where your love for the game is conflicting with your decision to support a company that appears to have done unethical stuff?
I mean, put your money where your mouth is if you want. I mean, Bomberman R is not going to be this is not going to light the world on fire anyway, so I'm not sure you're going to have much of an effect on it. But this is what I've said over and over again. If this is a good time for you to take your stand, the Metal Gear Zombie game is going to be the real interesting barometer of that. But
I haven't heard about that game in forever.
I wonder why.
It's almost like they didn't have anything. They were trying to change this conversation. Weird.
Yeah.
But this is a great time to put your money where your mouth is, and I don't think there's any shame. You're not going to miss. I mean, Bomberman R is going to be fun, but it's not going to be like this game-changing kind of situation. I promise. There's no such thing as a Bomberman game in which it's gonna be like this mind-altering kind of situation. No offense.
Yeah. I had a great time with Bomberman R playing it, and it's weird because as I was playing, I looked up and I saw the Konami thing, and it did give me a moment of like,
Yeah.
But that's not going to stop me from supporting this game because it is such a convoluted structure of where that team goes all the way up to. This game has nothing to do with the people I don't like. I don't even know who the people I don't like are. I just know that I like certain people.
They run fitness clubs.
And then they're,
Pachinko machines.
Yeah, fuck that shit, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, this is a totally different thing where it's like, I do support Bomberman. If I'm going to bitch about Bomberman not being in Super Smash Bros., which I'm one of those guys, like, I need to support this type of shit,
Yeah.
I like getting more mascot character-y driven games like that, and I love the nostalgic retro 90s characters. So I'm like, I got to put my money where my mouth is in supporting what I like, despite the fact that it's going to a company that I don't necessarily agree with what they do.
Sure.
But I do feel like you just need to kind of speak with your wallet, but think about all the ways that that's affecting the situation.
I'll see what Kojima says and decide on that.
Yeah.
If he gives me the thumbs up, tweet him about Bomberman.
I think he's a little burned on the Switch right now.
He'll be like,
Yeah, because he's not as good as me. Bomberman falls in this giant hole.
That GIF is so amazing. That Miyamoto GIF is just like one of the greatest things of all time.
He's the best.
It's fantastic.
remember when we got at IGN, didn't we? I don't know if it was a joke or we wrote
That was
like
a joke.
Yeah, we didn't have it like pre-written, right? Like a newspaper would with like Miyamoto's the death of Miyamoto.
I think that was a joke when
eulogy.
we were arguing about what we do journalism and all this stuff. And I think we were like, we don't have Miyamoto's obituary ready to
Obituary, that's
go.
what it is.
It's not like how you have it for all these famous people. Like at any time you could pull it out.
My first E3, so it must have been 2009. I won the contest, whatever. I got to go there. As I'm there, I saw Miyamoto, and Miyamoto, one of the few people that would be walking around with any type of security.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, not security. He's just walking around with dudes, right? And I'm like, it was the year that they like were really going hard on the Kinect. And I was like, I want to try this thing. So I remember standing in line, and then Miyamoto walks up and like cuts us because it was like, it's fucking Miyamoto, right? And most people aren't noticing that it's him, but obviously I'm like, I look over at our friend, I'm like, that's fucking Miyamoto.
And Alfredo's like, who?
And I'm like, I'm going to touch him. And I was like, I see that he has security, but fuck this. This is my story. I'm doing it for the story, right? Do it for the gram before Instagram existed. And yeah, I just went, slid my hand through, touched him, moved it off.
Did he
That's
turn?
my story. Yeah, he just kind of turned, and that was it. And I just kind of like nodded at him, and that was it. So that's my Miyamoto story.
All right, that's a good one.
I didn't have a battle plan after that. I just wanted to touch him.
Why didn't you just say hi? You could have introduced. You said hi. And like, introduce
Well, I mean,
yourself.
I
Could at least give him a hand job or something.
No, yeah, exactly. It was a whole. Like I didn't just like touch him and just like weirdly back off.
Yeah.
As I touched him, and I was just like, I don't know what I did, but I acknowledged
You
him.
bowed.
He acknowledged me.
Okay.
And like I walked away. I mean, it was super awkward. I'm even now awkward when I'm dealing with different cultures and shit. I didn't know if bowing's a good or bad thing at that point. I'm like, I'm just gonna.
Well, that's the thing.
Japan, maybe.
We talked about Kojima last week or whatever, and one of the stories I didn't say from RTX City is when we were walking over to the convention center for rehearsal day. We were walking this big group of it was me, him, his translator, his people, a couple RTX Sydney people, and they were trying to do like a loose perimeter kind of thing, but Kojima just kept going over and taking photos of stuff and coming back, and so we were all just walking and talking and hanging out. And as we were walking, this kid, I mean our age or whatever, probably a little bit younger, one best friend age, was just like, "Oh my God, hey!" And he said it with such confidence, and then ran over, like came at him from like your angle, touched Kojima on the shoulder, and was like, "Hey man, how you?" Like blah blah blah, and I was like, does he fucking know him? And like Kojima pulled away, and finally like people were like, "Wait, do you know?" And like they kind of did the wall, and I was like,
"That's weird."
Damn, like that's
Confidence,
a ballsy,
dude.
bold
Gets you in
fucking
anywhere.
move.
Don't put your arm around people.
Yeah, don't go that
And don't
far.
touch wrestlers at Comic
That's
Con.
bad. And don't put your arm in between security to touch a man that doesn't know you or do. But yeah, no, that was my Miyamoto moment. Same E3, we went over, it was when they unveiled the 3DS. So I was playing with that motherfucker, and they had the Star Fox 64 demo, and I was super stoked about it. And then I look up, and I'm like, that's fucking Sakurai. That's the director of Smash Bros. I owe this man my fucking life. And he's just over there playing whatever 3DS game. It wasn't even his game. It was just some other shit. And I'm
He's
like,
trying it out, see what's
I
up.
need a picture with him. And then I asked Alfredo I gave him my phone. I'm like, dude, I need a picture. And I like started talking to him. Does not speak English. Not used to people asking for pictures with him. It was
you get
an
one, though?
ordeal. But I got my picture with
Damn
him.
right you did.
It was a great picture.
Now, was this the E3 where the 3DS is tethered to beautiful women?
It was.
I remember that.
It was. Nintendo's
That was awesome.
booth was just filled with like 60 beautiful women with just 3DSs attached to them like umbilical cords.
Yeah.
And
remember
they just walk up to you and be like, "Do you want to play?" I'm like, "Yeah, this is hella awkward. I wish this wasn't the scenario."
Do you remember, that was like, I mean, there's a lot of horribly awkward E3 moments, but I'll never forget that E3 press conference for Nintendo when it ended like, all right, now you can all play the 3DS, and all these women with them attached came out. You're like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? And they
Yeah.
just went in the crowd and people are playing. I'm
That
like,
was the
what
whole
is going
thing.
on?
And remember, that was an E3. I was there with Alfredo, so filling the gaps in the stories there. But there were some, and they were fantastic.
Alfredo took,
I love Nintendo.
Did he meet a few booth babes?
I love Nintendo so much. E3 is a special thing. Nintendo's booth always a special thing.
So close. It's like 110 days away, I heard.
Fuck, I fucking hate E3.
fucking love E3.
So many announcements, so many games.
The press conference is the only good part.
B Tyler 411 says,
B-Ty!
"Hi. Since I was born in 2000 and the first console I outright owned was a Wii, yes, I'm young. I was wondering if back in 1997, when people saw Final Fantasy VII for the first time, did they think those graphics were quote unquote good?
Yes.
Or did they still think they look like shit, which they are?"
People thought that I mean, Final Fantasy VII wasn't first seen in 1997, but the people did think that game was beautiful.
The FMVs were the big deal there.
But even the in-game stuff was, first of all, not all of it looks like shit. A lot of the rendered backgrounds and then the hand drawn, like the drawn backgrounds are actually still beautiful. I actually played Final Fantasy VII not too long ago. Now, when you're talking about character models and stuff like that, I mean, they look awful. But even then, I mean, they were impressive because we had never seen anything like that. But I've often said that the N64 PS1 era is really the one era that just in no way, shape, or form holds up graphically, unless you're talking about sprite-based stuff and stuff like that, which still look great. Final Fantasy Tactics, for instance, still looks fucking phenomenal. Obviously, Castlevania Symphony of the Night looks awesome still.
But jumping into 3D
Yeah, it
was
was-
such a learning curve, and people did not know what they were doing.
It was absolutely jarring. But yes, at the time, I mean, as someone who bought Final Fantasy VII the day it came out, so you are a young man. Yes, it always looked beautiful, and it wasn't until years later that I realized it wasn't.
Yeah, and I think it especially was the cinematics that like gave that the beautiful level that it had, where people talked about the graphics of the game, solely talking about the cinematics.
Sure, and the summons and all that kind of stuff. It was interesting.
no.
Yeah.
So this Brash Candipoot here has a question that kind of follows up on that. I'm playing Resident Evil Remake Remaster on PlayStation 4 for the first time, going for the platinum. Re. I'm amazed at how great the game looks and how well the atmosphere feels when playing. It made me think of pre-rendered backgrounds. Could it be implemented to a greater effect now, or is it a technique of its era? And Onimusha, anyone? Peace. It's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Because you think of like Final Fantasy in particular, and you're right. Final Fantasy VII, the backgrounds do look amazing, but the problem was, since they were on like a game on CD and whatever, like they're so small. If the pre-rendered backgrounds were a lot bigger, it'd look great in 1080p or
Yeah,
whatever.
no, I agree. I think that's an interesting question. I think that there probably isn't a place for that anymore because I think that was about technical limitations. Like, why would you need pre-rendered backgrounds now? That's the bigger question. Like, yes, Onimusha beautiful game.
Devil May Cry.
Devil May Cry, beautiful game. But at the same time, like when you play Resident Evil 7, you realize why you don't need them anymore. Why you don't need tank controls anymore. Tank controls were a place in time. Also made the games more difficult, which made them scarier. But when I think about it today, I'm like, I'm not so sure that style, that 90s style, would really be needed today, because I really do think that it was a design choice, but it was also relative to technical things as well.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to look at how games have grown and things that we've just become used to, like using the right stick to control a camera. When you play a game and can't control the camera, it feels very antiquated and
Feels like you lost an arm.
Exactly. Like it totally feels off. And I think that, with pre-rendered, that's what it was. And it's you can't really think of a way to have a camera with the pre-rendered backgrounds, because it's like a static image. But yeah, Onimusha looked incredible back in the day. And Devil May Cry, like the tone and atmosphere of that game is entirely owed to its pre-rendered backgrounds, because you can have the coolest enemy designs possible running around, but like if it was just the polygons that you can imagine that being, it would not have had the same effect. So
yeah, it's interesting. I think that the only genre where that kind of stuff probably actually would work, and it probably still exists in some ways, maybe the adventure game genre, especially with static screens. Obviously, but any game that requires locomotion around an environment, it's just very antiquated. It's the same reason why you just won't see certain design choices anymore. It's the same reason why FMV is not a thing anymore, really, because it's like you don't need it.
Yeah. 4999 says Greg, Colin, and the dude that helped save the Bandicoot, my man Tim Gettys. Did we talk about this, Colin? Crash Bandicoot coming out on my birthday?
I saw that. It's very strange.
Come the fuck on.
It is. I mean, that's profoundly strange.
It does not make sense.
Come the fuck on.
2017 has the likes of Mario, Zelda, Sonic, Yooka-Laylee, filling in for Banjo, and of course, Crash himself returning for a new generation. So with that in mind, how important do you think gaming icons are today, and how important will they be in 10 years?
Well, they're always going to be important, but I think that the point here is they're the ones you're naming are cartoony from a different era, or at least harken from. I mean, obviously Yooka-Laylee's new, but harkens from a different era. Today we think we talk about Aloy as being really the next great PlayStation icon. While 20 years ago, well, not quite. Well, yeah, 20 years ago, I guess. Jesus. Crash. It would have been incomprehensible to be like, the guy from The Getaway. Is the icon, so it's a little different.
The guy from The Getaway.
I think it's
not that that's a PS1 game, but you understand.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that a lot of those characters are still iconic. Like, yeah, some of them went away, like Crash and whatever. I think Sonic still is iconic to video games. I think Mario is obviously iconic. Yeah. I think that Pikachu is iconic, and I think that as we grow with all this stuff, I don't think there will ever be a time when you're discussing video games that these cartoony characters aren't immediately brought to mind.
Well, I mean, it's just because it's a statement on where games were. You know what I mean? It was a smaller pond. Now it's a huge ocean. It's so vast. You know what I mean? Like I got in an Uber yesterday, coming to work, and the guy I immediately noticed had a Mega Man plushie on his dashboard or whatever. And so, sure enough, we started talking about games at some point. I'm like, so what are you playing right now? And he leaned forward and went like this and pointed at the back, and there was a character and like words on it. I'm like, he's like, League of Legends. I'm like, I see. I don't fucking. There's no way.
You should have taken his Mega Man plushie and been like, you can't have this anymore, sir.
I'm sorry, you've lost privileges to this. That's the problem. There's just so much going on. It's so split up.
I mean, this is a different question than like who are the most iconic game characters and whatever. But like, it's interesting to think in 20 years from now, like, are people gonna think of Nathan Drake? I don't think so. I think Nathan Drake will be thought of the same way Dante from Devil May Cry is thought of. It's like, yeah, important, but not on the same level of Pac-Man,
Oh, yeah.
But even then, it's like, I do think Sonic will be there. I don't think Sonic's going to go away from being.
Well, I mean, part of it too is
he goes so fast, he can go so far away in that time.
But he'll be right back. He's just going to come right up behind you. But it's also, I think, part of this is the things speak to kids, and kids adopt those and go into it too. Like, I would never sit here and be like, oh, Minecraft Steve, he's a huge deal. Yeah. But when we were just in Target, there's fucking shitloads of him everywhere. I'm sure to people, and I'm sure to the kids who are growing up playing Minecraft, a creeper in 20 years is going to be symbolic of video games because that's what they played and what they knew.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because it is the more mature characters, but like Master Chief, where's his place going to be in when
Garbage can where it belongs?
No, I don't think so.
What up, Killzone?
I don't think that Chief will ever have that same type of legacy as these characters. But I mean, but at the same time, I don't know. Like Chief's helmet is, I think, going to be an iconic
sure
thing.
I mean, right? A good example is Kratos. You know, what is Kratos' legacy in terms of being a character and what people think of him as a mascot or whatever?
Yeah. Interesting thing to ponder. Lucid Dream has a very, very long question.
Oh, good.
It's a good one, though. Do you think the skill of the player has a significant impact on their ability to review a game or even enjoy it? Do you ever find yourself playing a certain game to challenge yourself? Which genres do you feel are the most reliant on skill? I find competitive multiplayer to be the most obvious demonstration of skill in the gaming realm, and I enjoy watching professional players compete, particularly in fighting games and sometimes Hearthstone. Do you enjoy watching competitive gaming? There's a lot of questions there.
A lot of questions.
But a lot of them have to do with, let's go back to the beginning, reviewing hard games.
Sure.
I reviewed a game once, what was it? Under Siege on PS3, which was like a turn-based strategy game that was fucking impossible. I think I'm good at that genre, and I think that a game shouldn't kick your ass a half an hour into it like that game did. They patched it actually to make it easier because it was fucking outrageous. So you encounter that kind of stuff every so often, but you know. Do I play games to challenge myself? Yeah, there's really very few like insurmountable challenges today in games, and I think that that's fine because you can also use sliders to make the games more hard. I mean, I fucked around a little bit with Horizon on very hard, and it's very hard. You know, so it
lives up to the billing.
So it's it makes you play games differently, but
I mean, I think that no, I don't think there should be a problem with the reviewer and skill level because I think the problem when you're talking about reviewing a game, unless you're a niche site, you're talking specifically to this person, that kind of idea. Like at IGN, right? Like I'd dial it to normal and I'd play the game and tell you my experience because I'm trying to appeal to the widest audience of this is what I got out of this game and these were my problems in this. And if something's fucking insanely hard and I had to dial the difficulty down to get past it or couldn't get past it or something like that, that would be a big part of the review, right? Yep. Of like, this is an issue for me, so it might be for you as well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not very good at games, so I always start at normal. I'm not the type of guy that's going to push the difficulty up, but I've never had to review games in the way you guys have either, so I haven't had to think of it in that way. Like, I just say if I like the game or not and don't worry about the rest of it, right?
With everything else.
I think Neo's a good example where it's like, that game kicks my ass. I could never beat that game.
That game is really hard.
Could never fucking beat that game. But I enjoy playing it. But I also do not enjoy getting my ass kicked enough to dedicate the time to beat it. Because I do think that if I sat there and tried over time, if I played every night, I'm sure I could get through it. I'm not sure, actually.
You could brute force your way through the game statistically.
I could probably get through it. But it's like, that shit's hard. But I mean, there is something about that challenge and knowing that it's hard that I wouldn't review that game poorly for being hard. I would.
It's part of the equation.
Exactly. That's part of it. And that is the fun. And that is the thing that would grab me and that does make me want to play it, even though I'm not good at it. If it was easier, then it would be like, all right, this is just a hack and slash. What's the point?
Yeah.
You know, like the point is the hardness. Without the hardness, there's no game. There you go. Final question of the day. Colin, this is a you question. This is from Moogle the Sly. He says, what are the chances of Ni no Kuni 1 getting a remaster? Maybe bundled in as a pre-order bonus for 2 as some games have already done? Would like to play it, but don't know that I'll dust off the PS3 to do so.
Yeah, I'd be somewhat shocked if it wasn't available on PS4 before Ni no Kuni 2 came out because it's first of all, porting these games isn't a huge challenge. I think there's more games to be sold here in that respect, but also it sets the stage for the game was bigger than Namco Bandai I thought it was going to be, I'm sure, but I mean it definitely was. But you need context probably for why the sequel matters. So,
what's old Drippy up to? Who's this guy?
So I feel like it's I don't want to say likely. I mean, who knows? I'd be surprised though if it wasn't made available. It's similar. I hope they don't do a similar situation what UB did with South Park: Stick of Truth, where it was like kind of locked behind pre-orders for the next game. Like it would be a nice idea for them to, a few months before Ni no Kuni 2 comes out, it'd be like the Ni no Kuni 1 available on PS4 for $20, and you'd probably sell a bunch of copies, and it's basically free money.
It is on PlayStation Now, so there you go.
Yeah, whatever.
There you go.
There you go.
You don't need to buy new games when you have PlayStation Now.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Kind of Funny Gamescast. Thank you very much for joining us. Until next week, I love you.